Morning, everyone. I'm Tech Sergeant Jim, and today I will be providing you MSD HYT Extension Training. I'm the current program manager, and along with Miss Kathy Quitigua, we've processed over 400 and about 400 packages. The purpose of this training is to provide you with basic familiarization of the program and its functions, as well as some detailed information. For example, we're going to take a look at what a package should look like in the attachments. So if you're new to the FSS, you'll have a good basic understanding. And if you're a seasoned pro, you might get something that'll tighten up your programs. That being said, let's talk about the overview. Okay, the intent of the program, I'm going to go over it, why we do extensions and some of the approval considerations to give a few examples. Keep in mind, I'm going to be going over MSDs, ART MSDs, and HYTs. They are different packages and different requirements, but I'm going to try and keep it as basic as possible and take a look at a consolidated list, if you will. And we're going to go over roles and responsibilities, basically who does what, and we're gonna go over a basic routing example, and then we're gonna go over timelines, when and how, and I'm gonna talk about the notification windows, and then we're gonna go over some laws, mainly the 14701 and 14703 laws. These are ART MSD laws. We're gonna take a look at them and the major differences between those. And then we're going to take a look at a package example. We're going to take a look at the main points, which can determine if a package is acceptable or if we're going to reject it. And lastly, we're going to look at 3 common mistakes we see here at ARPC on a daily basis. And at this stage, I'm hoping we can do some training so we can fix it. Finally, we're going to do some Q&A. And my only ground rule for this briefing is please hold your questions till the end, because there's a really good chance I'm going to answer your questions during this brief. Okay, before we start the training, I just want to address a current situation that was brought to our attention here at ARPC. This is regarding a known issue for HYT TR initial updates. Right now, ARPC and AFRIC A1, they're discussing the issue. Just be aware that this issue is at the highest priority, and they're trying to find a resolution to solving this. So if you have any questions about this, just wait till the end, and we'll get to you. That being said, let's take a look at what we're going to do today. Okay, the program overview. When members are within 1 year of their MSD or HYTs, they are notified of their option to request an extension. Okay, if they pursue that extension, it's considered on a case-by-case basis in the needs of the Air Force mission. Just some of the examples I want to put out there is that if your loss of your position results in mission effectiveness, let's say the mission doesn't get accomplished as well as it should, key positions, a big one is loss in leadership that we've seen here in the office. Undermanning, this is if you don't have enough AFSCs to do the job and there's no replacements left, and your extension covers that gap. That's one we see. And specialties, a good example of this is boom operators. A boom operator is a critical skill, and there's not very many AFSCs out there. And if your loss of a position leads to complete mission failure, that's a good one too. These are just a few examples of what we've seen. We get a large variety of reasons of why people request extensions. For further guidance, there are MSD HYT guidance memos from the AFRIC commander dated 9 September 2021. We will go over that at a later slide, but some of the emphasis and requirements are listed there as well. Okay, let's take a look at some of the roles and responsibilities. Okay, we'll start with the member. The member is ultimately responsible to know their MSD or HYT. If there was a foot stomp sound or whatever, I would press it right here. But please, the member is responsible. We actually get some issues where the member says they weren't notified of this and that, but the member is responsible for knowing their own MSD HYT. And the member is responsible for initiating the request. We will take a look at the member's request memo and where it starts in with a later slide, but we'll take a look at that. And the FSS, MPF, CSS, this is where you guys come into play. You track all your members in your unit, and if I do my job correctly, this briefing will give you a basic understanding of what the process should look like and where you fit in. And we'll talk about the unit commander. Unit commander actually has a role, and like I said, with the member request, we'll go over that as well later. The unit commander tracks the member, tracks all the members in the unit, as well as provide written justification and a recommendation on the request. The wing or the det commander, they provide concur and non-concur on the request. They do not have to have a memo. The same goes for the NAF and the RIO CC. They provide a concur or non-concur on the memo. Okay, and then the package gets to us. We provide quality control, and what I mean by quality control is we review everything. We also rerun the manning stats and prepare the AFRIC memos for the general design. We validate the request, we verify information. We actually have a 3-phase QC process here at ARPC. So we want to make sure everything's correct before we forward it to AFRIC. And we also staff the request to AFRIC via ETMS, Enterprise Task Management Software Solution, formerly known as TMT. Now, I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I might refer this to TMT. It's just kind of hard to make that switch sometimes. But when I say TMT, I'm referring to ETMS. And the request also goes to the member's career functional manager. That's a requirement. Kernel requests go to AFREG. They provide non-concur on non-concur and concur on 06 requests. Okay, this next step, I have it highlighted in bold, AFRIC, A1, DS. Okay, this is where all the packages are different. Whether it's a MSD, ART MSD, HYT, this is where the most different stage is. But the only thing they have in common is this is a coordination stage. Nobody concurs or non-concurs at this stage. It's just mainly coordination. Then finally, the package gets to the AFRIC deputy commander, who is the approval authority on the MSDs, ART MSDs, and HYTs. He also recommends disapproval for MSDs. And what I mean by disapproval is that if the AFRIC deputy commander disapproves a request, which a complete disapproval, we have to send that request to SAF. SAF is the ultimate approval authority on all MSDs. And the AFRIC commander, requests go to him for only 2-time deferred officer request. And yes, that's the only time that it goes to the AFRIC commander. And then the request comes back to us here at ARPC. What we do is we make sure everything's good to go. We look at the approval memos. We update MIL PDS with the new MSD date. And we also provide official notification via MyPers. Now, at this point, we also determined if a package needs to go to SAF. As I mentioned, complete disapprovals and 2-time deferred officers get forwarded to SAF. Another thing I want to mention is it takes about, I want to say, an average of 30 days from when it leaves AFPC to AFRIC. It takes about 30 days to get approval. For it to get forwarded to the SAF, it takes another 30 days, 30 to 45 days, as we've seen. So that's one thing you might want to jot down. Okay, now we're going to go over notification and request windows. For notifications, officers get notification 1 year prior to their expirations. We here at ARPC send them a notification via MyPers. Enlisted members are notified within 14 months of their expiration. And for the request windows, okay, MSDs no earlier than 18 months, no later than 6 months. For HYTs, no earlier than 12 months and no later than 6 months. Now, we do understand and we do get them. If requests are submitted earlier than the no earlier than date, please have the justification annotated in the memo. We understand that some of these are tied to assignments and things of that nature, but please just document it in the memo. And the last thing I want to say is, as of 1 April, requests received within 6 months of the MSD will be returned without action. And as I previously said, it gets routed in ETMS2, formerly TMT, and here's the information. These slides will be made available to you at a later time, so just please feel, this is what the screenshot basically looks like. If you don't have an account, there's a create account icon on there that you can select, and somebody should be able to help you out. Okay, I said that we're going to talk about some laws. The first one we're going to look at is for line officer, the 14071 law. And I have this in a table format. Let me try and explain the first one. And the next one, we're just going to take a look at the differences because there's a lot of similarities. Okay, the top portion, this is where the MSD is set to. Captains and majors, as you can see, they don't get MSDs unless they're twice deferred. So their MSD, if they're twice deferred, is set to their continuation date for captains or 7 months from SAF release date. For majors, it's 20 years from their total federal commissioning service date, which is a tongue twister for me, so I'm just going to refer this to as commissioning service date, or 7 months from the SAF release date, whichever is later. Or if they're selected for continuation date, that's what it gets set to as well. Okay, for colonels, the earliest of 28 years commissioning service date or 62nd birthday, the last day of the month, whichever is later. Whichever is earlier, I'm sorry. And the earliest for colonels, the earliest of 30 years federal commissioning service date or the last day of the month of the 62nd birthday. Okay, that being said, we talked about what the MSD is set to, and at the bottom portion of the table, we're going to talk about the maximums. The maximum is the earliest of their commissioning service date or their 62nd birthday. We're going to take a look at the captain. You can see in the captain row, their maximum is 20 years or the last of their 62nd birthday. Majors is 24 years, last of their 62nd birthday. Lieutenant colonels, 33 years or the last of their 62nd birthday. Colonels is 35 years and the last of their 62nd birthday. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the 14703 law. And I'm not going to go over this because a lot of it's similar, but the major difference is highlighted in red. As you can see, the federal commissioning service date for lieutenant colonels and colonels are not a factor. There's no restrictions in this category at all. And also they can go to age 68, the last day of the month of their 68th birthday. Now, regulations says request above 68, that thereafter it can be, it's possible, but they require staff approval. We have yet to see one of those come through yet. So just, but 68, they can go above 68. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the art officer extensions. I'm not going to go over this too much because art officer extensions are the most different out of the group. That's because the service combines their military and civilian rules, but I'll go over the major parts. For officer extensions, if an officer extended request is under age 60, for example, if the request date is to 1 June 2022, and that's under the age of 60, they'll be covered under the ART program. Now, if this is the case, their job series and what we call the minimum retirement age come into play. The minimum retirement age for ART officers has to be met before requesting up to age 60. It's like a prerequisite. I have to refer you to the ART PSDG guides whenever it becomes available, but it's clearly written in there. Like I said, there's only one job series It's called the 2181 job series, and that's mainly fighter pilots or pilots. They do not have an MRA requirement. They can request all the way to age 60. Okay, in the event the ART officer requests an extension over 60, let's say June 1, 2022 is up to age 64 or something like that, then that's when the 1407 and 14073 apply. But once again, that's getting too deep in the woods, but I just want to give you the basics for that. Okay, HYT extension requests are pretty much straightforward for TR, AGR, IMA. They're higher tenure years set 33 years from their pay date, or the last day of their 60th birthday, whichever is earliest. Their maximum time is 36 years from their pay date with an approved extension and before their 60th birthday. Some additional parameters I have to mention is that MSDs for the 14701 and 14703, you can do those in 3-year increments until their max service. For instance, you can take 3 years here, 3 years there, and you can take as many until your maximum service, which is the tables a couple slides before. For HYTs, they only get 3 years maximum. This is it. There's no 3-year increments. They could take 3 years, but that's all they get. Now, a caveat to that is sanctuary. Sanctuary can be a factor. I won't go into sanctuary too much, but it is a factor. It can play a factor. Okay, as I said, the ART for ART officers, they must meet their MRA first before requesting up to age 60. Now, again, I'll exclude the 2181 job series, which is the pilot. Okay, I wanted to share with you how we validate if a request is lawful or not. Let's take a look at John B. Snuffy's SURF. Now, this is a SURF, the RSBR02, which we look at, and you can get almost all the most information off the SURF. Now, to the left, you'll see the duty AFSC and the passcode. I've highlighted those, and we're going to use this at a later slide, but that's one of the things you need to note. And the total federal commissioning service date, as you can see, I highlighted that as well. The pay date, that's for enlisted HYTs, that's the date we use. And the MSD date, also the HYT date is highlighted as well. And lastly, the date of birth. So I just wanted to share this with you so that you can, if you have any questions, you can refer to this SURF. It's a 1-page SURF, and we get, like I said, we get most of our information from this. Okay, now we're going to change course and start talking about the actual package itself. As I said, these packages are routed ETMS, not my purse, not email, but ETMS. That's where they are routed. Now, I have three routing trails, common routing trails above. You'll see A, I'll just go over it real quick. This is the most traditional one we see. It goes from unit, group, wing to the NAF. And, B's unit is headquarters Rio specific. The last one, C, if you take a look at C, this is, every once in a while we get requests from headquarters or members that do not have, I want to say some organizations that don't have a NAF, they should contact their CCS and contact us. So, but all those packages, all those routing come to us, where we do what we have to do, checks and balances, and then we forward it to AFRIC. And if need be, we forward it to SAF after we get it back. The approval officials, the AFRIC Deputy Commander is approval official for MSD and HYT requests. The AFRIC Commander is the approval recommendation official for twice deferred officers. And like I said, I want to say recommendation official because this is not where the package stops. They have to go to SAF. And lastly, SAF is the final approval official for twice deferred officers and complete disapprovals. And when I say complete disapprovals, we could have a request requesting 3 years, but the AFRIC deputy commander only approves up to 2. That's where it stops, and it does not go to SAF. Another note I want to add is any HYT disapprovals can be any HYT request can be disapproved at any point in the chain of command. The package stops. Let's take a look at A for an example. If an HYT goes to the unit commander and he endorses it, it goes to the group, they're good to go. But the wing says, no, I disapprove that request. That's where the package stops. For MSDs, it goes all the way. For MSDs, the staff is the final approval official. And the ETMS2 naming convention, I'm just going to go over the top ones. Here's how we like to see the titles. You at the unit FSS level create the packages, so you have the ability to make these requests, to title them, as you will, because we can't change the title when it's en route. But for the first one, HYT extension request for Senior Master Sergeant Doe John. That's as simple as that. It helps us catalog the request and log everything. It's just a lot easier. It's better for business for us. The last bullet I have on here is please submit the assignment, this as an assignment to ARPC DPT Reserve Separations Workflow. It has to come to our box. If it doesn't, we won't see it, and it could be a time sensitive package. Okay, we're going to take a look at a package example. This is one that I kind of altered to make it this is a 14701 MSD package, but it applies to all the packages. If you look on the left side, I have the attachments listed. If you sort by name, this is how they should stack up. Now we have templates out there. All you have to do is replace the name in the template and everything should be good to go. I've actually highlighted the attachments that we're going to go over in the next couple slides because these are the most important. This is where you can determine if a package gets rejected or if it gets approved, you know, just the good to go thing. Then we're going to go over to the right, the comment section. Okay, this is one that we get questions a lot. The HYT comments from the NAF chief and the NAF commander get forwarded to AFRIC. Those are the only comments that get forwarded to AFRIC. For MSDs, it's the NAF or equivalent comments that get forwarded to AFRIC. You'll see on this snowflake as well, I've circled the POC contact information. This is one thing I'm asking, please put a good POC contact up there. If we have a quick question or a quick fix, we reach out to that person and just get it done so we can get these packages going. In the past, we've had difficulty with the names up there, the DSN numbers wrong, and it's just very time consuming because these packages, like I said, they're time sensitive. And at the bottom, I've circled previous extensions. If you could just please take the extra effort to look at the members, see if they have previous extensions, and upload that approved extension letter in the attachments. That will save us a lot of time, and we check them anyways, but it's just very time consuming, and it's really good if you guys have it available in the Snowflake. Okay, let's take a look at tab 2, which is one of the first ones, which is the first ones I had highlighted. This is the member request. Now, these documents need to be consolidated into one PDF file. And the way I have this screenshot done is this is the layout you should see in the Organize Files option in PDF. So this is what it should look like. We're going to start number 1, members request. Make sure that extension request dates are clear. Make sure justification is in there. And lastly, make sure it's signed and dated. Next is the leadership memo. As I mentioned before, the commander has a role, and this is where the commander puts his recommendation for the individual for an extension. and ensure that the recommended approval is clearly in there, justification, and signed and dated. And the wing, the group, the NAF, the wing, or if that applies, these are just endorsement statements. They don't have to be memos, but just ensure that the approval is selected in there, the name is in there, and the dates. Make sure everything is clear. And if you follow the templates we send out to you, and you just have to plug in the names and the information, you should be good to go. The last thing in this attachment is the last 3 OPRs or EPRs, organized from current to oldest. If the current one is missing, please provide a status and let us know where it's at. We do get a lot of these where the final EPR or OPR hasn't been signed off yet. Just let us know. However, we still require 3 of them. The main thing with this is make sure they're signed. Okay, now we're going to go over, I think this is everyone's favorite tab for those of you that have done this a while, because this is the #1 kickback, this tab right here. We're going to start out with the fitness report. Please make sure it's current. Please make sure it's readable, and the next fitness date is in the future. We will go over this at a later slide. We'll go into deep. The ArcNet report, please make sure it's in color. Please make sure it's in current. Please make sure it's current. Okay, and item 3 is where you can put your justification. It doesn't just have to be one memo. You can actually put like supporting documents such as certificates in this section, but the 3rd section is for the justification. If there are items in red or yellow on the ArcNet report, please put it in there. If the member can't get a current fitness date and the system hasn't updated, please put it in there. And it needs to be signed by the member, the CSS, or somebody in their chain of command. It could be a supervisor or somebody. It can't just be the member. Okay, the last one, number 4, is probably the newest addition, and I kind of think it might go away soon. And this is the COVID documentation. The acceptable forms of this is, it could be IMR screenshot, it could be the shot record, or it could be scanned copies of the actual COVID shot card. Okay, tab 4. Okay, we are aware everyone's got different ways to report or compile Manning stats. The main thing we want here at ARPC is to make sure the duty AFC matches the passcode. That is the main thing. Like I said before, we rerun the Manning stats up here once we get the packages, but please make sure the duty AFC and the passcode match. Now to the left, I have a screenshot of Snuffy's BRSurf. Like I showed before, those are the 2 categories which need to be plugged into the right. The right is the RMVS position management screen. Now there's only 4 sections on that screen that you need to fill out. As you can see, the top one, the AFSC, the way you input that is by you X out the skill level. I provided examples up there like 3F0X1. No 7 level, no nothing like that. 3F0X1. I've also put in a thing for the officers. They have 11 mic X. So please put that in AFC category. And the last 3 categories are just passcode breakdowns. Self-explanatory. Just put those in, and that's all required. If it's a match, you guys should be good to go. Okay, tab 5 is the surf. This is pretty much straightforward. We need the surfs in this order. A consolidated attachment. Just make sure it's downloaded from MilPDS. No scans, please. We're going to kick them back if they're scanned. They need to be downloaded straight from MilPDS. And they're current within 60 days of arrival to ARPC, which, some packages can take their time getting through the nav. Just be aware that if it comes to us, please rerun these stats. Okay, the rest of the tabs, we'll go over some of these at a later slide. But for MSDs, tabs 6 through 8, they're standard required documents that have to go in every package. For example, some of these documents are the AFRIC MSD memos, or the AFRIC HYT memos, or the AFRIC delegation memos. Now, these are standardized, and we will have them for you. For MSCs, tab 9 is reserved specifically for approved extensions. Like I said, if the member has approved extensions, please put them in that tab. A consolidated PDF form, current to oldest, please. For HYTs, tabs 5 through 6, standard documentation as above. But tab 7 is reserved for approved extensions. Same rules apply, current to oldest. Okay, now ART MSDs. Now this is the most different out of all of them. Tab 6 is AFRC 121, and this is the ART Program Certificate of Understanding. Now this needs to be signed and labeled as tab 6, AFRIC 121. And tab 7 is reserved for the last OPRs for kernels only. Okay, now we're going to take a look at some of the attachments that we talked about earlier. This is the MSD Guidance Memo. And if you guys remember when I talked about the intent of the program and gave out some examples of what are considered approval rules. This is, take a good look here and you should be able to find some stuff. Next is the HYT Guidance Memo, kind of the same thing, but it places emphasis on what a package should be approved, the approval requirements. And lastly is the the delegation memo. It has to go in every package. This is a memo basically stating that the AFRIC Deputy Commander is approval authority on MSDs and HYTs. Okay, this brings us to the stage where we're going to talk about common mistakes. Now, if we're actually in the same room, I'd be like, let's bring it in, let's fix this. These are 3 common mistakes we see here at ARPC on a daily basis. And the 3 number 1 reasons for kickback. The first one we're going to take a look at is tab 2, member request. As I previously stated, there's some memos that go in the members request, and we're going to take a look at some of the trouble areas. Now, the members request, okay, I have it highlighted there. This is a template. The 140701 and 14073, choose one, please. It can't be for both of them. And please make sure the date for the extension is clearly written in there. And like I said, if you use these templates, you should be good to go. And make sure it's signed and dated. Okay, the leadership memo, the same thing goes in the subject line. Please choose one of them. It's either the 1407 or 14703. But on this one, usually there's like a section where it says approval, disapproval. Make sure one is selected, please. We get a lot of requests coming in. This part is blank. So please have one of them deleted or selected and just make it clear. And lastly, signed and dated, please. Okay, the endorsements. I put arrows to where some of our most frequent misses are. For the endorsements, make sure the member's name is in there, but the approved extension, like if the members are requesting to 1 June 2022, make sure it says that. And the same goes for the AFRIC, the NAF. The NAF endorsement is a big one. Like we've got some requests saying that, okay, Sergeant Jim is approved. Basically, that's all it says. And there's no request date in there. The date needs to be in there. Okay, common mistake number 2, tab 3. It's the fitness report. We get so many different ones. I provided 2 examples. These are actual packages that we pulled from. The top one, as you can see there, is an Excel document, and it's really tiny. Some of these we were just trying to reformat and resize, and it was just becoming very time consuming, so we just started kicking them back. The bottom one it's unreadable. I don't know how that happens, but every once in a while we get some of these, and the words are just jumbled on there. You can't make out anything. Please don't send these up. The example on the right is what we want to see. Basically, everything's clear, a good printout. But lastly, at the bottom, the fitness assessment due date is in the future. So that's a big one. And the last few bullets are just the ArcNet report we've seen. It's color coded, and we get them in black and white, which I don't know how. But please make sure they're in color. Also, there's no justification many times for the ArcNet or the fitness. They're just submitted without any justification for anything. And lastly, sometimes they send IMR screenshots, and that's it. No ArcNet report. ArcNet is the official approved recommended document. Okay, the last common mistake that I want to talk about is the formatting. Okay, please select the Microsoft Print to PDF option when you make these documents. I provided a screenshot of what it should look like. When you have the print option, that's the one you select. If you don't, it can cause delays because a lot of times digital signatures won't transfer. It won't transfer from TMT, and it won't transfer if we have to make corrections to reconsolidate some of the attachments. It causes a lot of time-consuming effort to resize and reformat these. So please select the appropriate format from the get-go, and that will be greatly appreciated. Okay, well, this concludes my briefing. I hope you gained a better understanding of the extension process, and I hope I cleared up any trouble areas for you. I provided a list of training regulations and reference. The PDG guides will be available soon, I promise. And the training slides, these slides will be made available to you for your convenience. And that being said, do we have any?
Okay. Thanks, Sergeant Jim. Sorry, I just wanted to jump in. This is Senior Master Sergeant Seekert. I appreciate everything Sergeant Jim just said, and I just had a couple things to follow up before we start on questions. So one thing I don't think we maybe addressed on here is that while ARPC does send out notifications to the members about their MSDs coming up, this is also a responsibility of the MPFs as well. So it should hopefully be kind of hit up from both sides to ensure that the members are tracking. And then one of the other things, just to kind of clarify, so I know as Sergeant Jim talked through this, there's kind of a lot of references as to what we need from the units and the members in these packages. I just want to help clarify that when we're talking about what we need, we're really just an extension of AFRIC as far as processing these and helping to QC the packages. So these requirements are actually coming from AFRIC, and it's not, so if there's something that maybe doesn't seem like it makes sense or something that you're like, why are you requiring that? Just please understand that we are providing that information based on what AFRIC requires in these packages. So I just wanted to clarify that piece, that it's not truly our requirements. It's actually coming from AFRIC. And so we may not be able to change anything because we're going off of what they're asking from us as well as we put these packages together. And then finally, as Sergeant Jim said, we are diligently working on these new PSDG guides for MSD extensions and HYT dates, extension packages to include the ART MSD. And hopefully we will get those out as soon as possible. I know it says on here 1 January 22 because that's when we hoped to finalize them, and we're in the hopefully the final few weeks of getting them out. So maybe what we can do is send them out with the slides, or at least send them out letting you know that we have they've been posted to MyPers at least by the time the slides are available. So those are just a couple things I want to clarify before we start into questions. Now we'll open it up. So you can either type your question in the chat, or if you want to come on the mic and ask it, you're welcome to do either. And Sergeant Matthews will capture anything in the chat.
Hey, good morning. This is Sergeant Matthews. So, Sergeant Jim, one question we have is, where can we find the previously approved extensions?
Previously approved extensions should be in the arms.
All right, awesome. Thank you. And then that's the only question I see in the chat as of right now. So if anyone else has any questions, feel free to hop on or type in the message system and I'll capture it.
And just going back to that question, I want to clarify or ask, because at ARPC, I mean, we use ARMS all the time, but I believe at the unit level, you guys may only have access to Prada. So I just want to make sure, did that answer your question? Have you seen them in Prada, or do we need to look at that as a possibility? They should be in there. Okay. Whoever asked the question. Okay. Oh yeah, Chief captured that too. All right, I know we gave you guys a lot of information, but really please use this opportunity to ask any questions that you feel are, you know, something that we didn't cover, not too far in the weeds or specific cases, but anything else so we can help others as well.
Yeah, so here's another question. Or do y'all see that? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so on the snowflake, is the POC the FSS or the CSS?
It can be either. It can actually be somebody that's really in charge of submitting the snowflake. A good POC, we get various different ones, but it's mostly FSS or CSS because they're routing the package through the ETMS.
So basically, whoever would be a good POC for you to contact if you had questions, right?
Yes.
Does that answer the question?
Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Master Sergeant Hernandez.
All right, guys, we're going to start thinking that we gave you everything you need if you don't start asking us some questions. I mean, which hopefully we did good here, but we really want some questions if there's anything we missed.
Hey, team, I'll jump in real quick just to let everyone know. We will get, well, Chief Modoc, I will send out these slides, and the YouTube recording is typically ready within a week or so after we do these recordings. Our public affairs officer, he puts his little magic on our recordings, and then he posts them to our headquarters ARPC YouTube channel. So if you're not already a subscriber, please go to the headquarters ARPC YouTube channel so that you can subscribe just for other items. All of the My Eval trainings that we've done, I know we're all trying to kind of figure it, we're holding hands and figuring that out together as we go. All those videos are posted, and as well as the other trainings that we've conducted. In case you have missed those, we've done DD Form 2656. We have also done the Reserve Component Survivor Benefit Plan training, and we're getting lots of hits on the YouTube channel. So if you're not a subscriber, please join us. We're trying to push out more information to you, more usable, and when you need it. So we're hoping that you're finding that useful. Thank you, Sergeant, Master Sergeant Anthony. We're working on it. So previous slides, thank you. So I know email is not the best way, but right now that is my only way to reach you at this time. As we migrate into my FSS, I'm hoping that we'll be able to have a better platform to just host the slides, and you don't have to depend on finding an email from 3 months ago from this lady named Chief Modoc. So I have been sending them to your AFRIC for support squadron commanders and your superintendents in the 4 sports squadron. That's where I have been sending the last several decks of slides, in addition to our training schedules. So again, as we morph into some better ways to host information, we will definitely have a better centralized spot to put slides. But for now, we got to depend on email. Oh, okay. Okay, Senior Hudson. So yeah, hit up your the commander or the superintendent, and hit me up in the chat in Teams or just via email if there's other considerations. Maybe you don't have people in the seat right now and you need it, so just feel free to let me know. Thanks, everyone. I don't want to talk about SharePoint right now. Oh, yeah, because I know we depend on MyPers, and then of course as we migrate into MyFSS, that will likely be it. We've been trying to patchwork some different teams. I know eVals has a huge Teams presence, but we have not gotten there with the rest of our sections just yet. We are working on it, but we're not there yet. So yeah, it probably won't be SharePoint. Thanks though.